my name is Tammy and you're watching Let's Heal. My channel is about breaking the stronghold of narcissist in your life. Today I want to talk about a couple of reasons why the narcissist tends to rage. The things that push them over the edge, I guess, is how I should word it. Narcissists generally have issues with showing empathy, consideration, respect, unconditional love. They are pretty much incapable of those things. I've been doing some research, and you can find a little bit that says that, yes, they are capable of it, and it depends on how far they are on the spectrum and so forth. But empathy is a really tough emotion, or it's really tough for them to understand the concept of empathy towards others. There's a couple of things that I think that I've run across and read about that stood out to me in relation to explaining a lot about why I could never make sense of how irrational my narc's thought process is. I would get up in the morning, go to work. He would get up, and if he didn't get a text from me, he would automatically start blasting my phone. He still does this, accusing me of not really being at work, making all these accusations, and everything was fine the night before. I wake up, I do my normal everyday routine, and this is part of the normal everyday routine because he responds in the same way. I've tried different things. I've tried, texting him and giving him messages, every couple hours, but it never seems to change the outcome, which is he wakes up in anger when I'm not there, regardless of what I'm doing, and he then goes through and accuses me of all of these infidelities and so forth. So, two things I ran across that explain this is something called object constancy, which is where they can't retain their good thoughts about you when you're not in front of them. When you're missing from their view, they don't have warm, fuzzy feelings for you. They automatically react in anger. You're not there, therefore their guard should be up because something is going on. And I kind of think that has a lot to do with how their mind works, in that they are always planning on what they can get from you and how they can take advantage of you. So they're thinking that you are too. And when you're not there in front of them, you're not so easily controlled. So a lot of anger comes out. Even saying to my narc, why don't you just, when you get up and around, text me, hey, how are you? What are you doing today? Because my job varies. As a small business owner, I'm all over the place. I do a lot of different things, but it's all in the name of making a living. And so his complaint was always, well, I never know where you're at. I never know if you've taken off to a different town to, go to a supplier, but that's one thing. But saying it that way, that's not what's happening. What's happening is you really aren't at work. You're with somebody. You're cheating, and then that's when all the name calling starts and so forth. And the other concept that I ran across that I thought was very interesting and probably responsible for a lot of their anger and raging is that they can't view you as like a dichotomy, a mixture of, some good, some bad. And I like this person, but I kind of could do without this part of their personality. It's either all good or all bad. It's black and white thinking. And the term is called splitting. So they can't think of you as someone that has good qualities and bad qualities, and they still love you regardless. They can only think of you as either good or bad. So And when you're good, that when you're good, you're very, very good, but when you're bad, you're horrid. Well, it's kind of like that. They love you, and I guess that would be in the idealization phase. They love you. You're perfect. You're in every way, the answer to all their prayers or what have you. And then you say the wrong thing. You think the wrong thing. You don't, behave the way they think you should. And they have contempt for you. And so you're, in the devaluation phase. So it's either all good or it's all bad, but there is never any in between. So the same goes for their anger. This is what I've experienced anyway. It's like there is no, a little bit mad. It's not like, I said something and he got a little upset. No, there is only I'm not mad and I'm extremely angry. And it comes like on so quick. It's there. It's like boom, there in a second. It's like pouring gasoline on a fire and then just throwing a match into it. And the interesting thing about that is that it's never, it's always way bigger. The anger is always way bigger than the event. One of the biggest arguments I can think of recently that I've had with my narc was he bought me several vases off of a eBay sale. Different colored vases. I have a shop which I sell things in, and he thought that they would go in the shop, and I thought it was really neat and it was a nice idea because he very rarely does anything like that. Well, he gave me the package with these vases in them, and there was one in there that was really pretty that was blue, and he and I both love blue, so we kind of decided we'd keep that one out and just go sell the rest. Well, I put the blue vase in the living room, and it was in there for quite a while. And I one day was working in my office that sits behind my house, separate little building, and I took the vase out there and I put it in with some other blue things I had displayed, and it was beautiful, and I thought he had even seen it there, but a few weeks went by and he suddenly saw that the vase was missing, and he flipped. Absolutely flipped out, screaming at me, and where is the vase? And I said, it's not worth fighting over. I said, the vase is just in the back house. You can get it back. It's just a vase. And he wouldn't quit. And finally I said, I said, you got the vase for me. You bought that vase for me. And, he didn't want to admit that, and he bought it for the house, and how would I like it if he took shit and moved it around, and he just went on and on and on about this vase, and calling me every name under the sun, and all over a vase. And it was like, always the response that you get and that was a narcissistic injury. That was, to him, a narcissistic injury. I touched something that he had put there that was his. He viewed it as his, regardless of how, who he bought it for. And I moved it, so I injured him. And so he had to punish me for it, and, he kept on yelling. I mean, that was probably a good 30 to 40 minute session, all because of this vase. And so I just basically went and got the vase and gave it back to him, and there it sits amongst a bunch of other stuff, disheveled looking. But it's there, and he's happy. So, but it always, you're all good or you're all bad, and the reaction is never, it's always much bigger than the event that caused it. But one thing I did notice that's worth noting is then following that, the apology is never as big as the angry period. The insults, when you sling 50 insults at somebody and you never go back and explain that you really didn't mean it. Or you might say, I didn't mean most of the things I said. But you never take ownership of the fact that you just assaulted somebody's character and you made up these lies about them. Or if you really feel that way about them, then what in the heck are you doing there? If you really think they're that bad of a person, or that untrustworthy, or that ugly, or that old, or that fat, or that whatever else it is that you are spewing out of your tongue, your mouth, then what the heck are you doing there? But such is the life of a narcissist. They won't take responsibility for the hurt they cause, the destruction that they leave in their path. It's always someone else's fault. It's never their fault. So I made some notes. Most of their life is spent resolving anxiety. I know that my narc has a lot of anxiety. He has a lot of anxious feelings. It's sad, actually. It's pitifully sad to see him, because he, as angry and as mean as he is to me, I can see that he's desperate for wanting to be viewed as good. He has his own past, and he's gotten in trouble with the law, which is very common with narcissists, and he wants to be thought of as good, and cannot grasp the fact that he would be if it wasn't for these rageful events that he constantly has, if it wasn't for this controlling nature that he has. But most of the controlling is his pursuit of reassurance that he's okay and that he has a place, and that because that's the only way he knows to provide for himself. That's how in my case, and I'm sure a lot of narcissists that are like him and aren't necessarily up in the corporate world with big paychecks, that's how they exist. They exist by feeding on other people, and that's how they get their needs met. That's how they get the roof over their head. That's how they get food. That's how they get vehicles and gas and everything. And that's how they live. So I guess that would give you a lot of anxious feelings, wondering if you were going to be, have a roof over your head. And then, but they still will never make the connection that their anger and their constant hurting of people that are trying to love them as best as they can, that's what's pushing them away. So this video is a little bit longer than I expected. My main point was the two things I can see that I thought were very interesting was the object constancy and the splitting concepts. So please subscribe to my channel. I really would like to have some conversation with some other people going through similar things. So we can all pull together and try to come up with ways to keep our dignity and our self-esteem intact while we are planning an escape route. So anyway, have a wonderful day, and I will see you again soon.